So today I had a very different video planned, but I feel like this is more important. You see, the Buddha once said that the trouble is we think we have time. See, at some point we all face loss. We face the passing of loved ones, and eventually we even face our own mortality. But what if instead of facing these things with fear, or in my case, I tended to hide out and avoid. What if we faced mortality, honestly, a sense of urgency? Because we don't know how much time we have. And what if we put that urgency into our life of making sure that we have those conversations with the loved ones, that they know how much they mean to us? What if we gave the extra hug? What if we went the extra mile and we did those special things for the people that we love? And we do those special things for ourselves, like maybe starting that business, touching the lives that we were meant to touch, living into our purpose, traveling the world, whatever that is for you. What if we treated every day as if we don't know how much time we have? So it was important for me to talk to you about this today because a couple days ago, I took a dear friend of mine to her doctor's appointment, and the cancer has spread throughout her body. We don't know if she has a few days, a few weeks, or maybe a month. I want to be there for her as she's transitioning. So, in that also requires that I have some very difficult conversations with her. Now, she's very spiritual, so she knows this stuff. She knows that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And I wanted to know, knowing what we know, if she had any fear of this transition that's coming up. And she said, no. She said, my only fear is I really don't want to be in pain as I go through this. But I have no regrets. I've lived a really good life. She said, I've had a beautiful life. And she has. You see, she's one of those rare people that at the age of 15, she found yoga. She's traveled the world. As a young lady, she went to India and studied under gurus. About 30 years ago, she moved here to Costa Rica, where she created this amazing life. She's worked for healing centers throughout Costa Rica and touched thousands of lives throughout the world. People who were healing from drug addiction and alcoholism or emotional and physical abuse. She's touched so many lives because she was living into her purpose. And that's why I wanted to talk to you today. Are you living into your purpose? You see, we were all sent here to this earth with a purpose. But many of us, we don't realize that that's why we're here. We just think we're here to have our families and do our thing and go to work and come home. And we wonder why we're dealing with so much anxiety and depression and just maybe that feeling of numbness. And you see, because she's done that deep inner work, she's not afraid. She's not afraid of this transition that's coming up. And this is why I started this channel, to help women and men wake up and live fully in the now, so that when that time comes for us, that when that time comes that we lay our head on the pillow for the last time, we have no regrets. No more waiting for tomorrow, no more waiting for someday, holding back on our dreams, holding back on sharing how much we love the people in our lives. No more holding back in any way, shape, or form. Because the biggest illusion that we have is thinking that we have time. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Mindy, and I've been on my own journey through depression and loss and anxiety and all the other things that come with it. I wasn't always this spiritual person. You see, 15 years ago, when I lost my mom, and then it just started this 3.5 years of darkness that I lived in, I didn't know that I was a spiritual being having a human experience. I didn't know that what I was going through at that time, what I now know is the dark night of the soul, I didn't know that was for my soul to have this awakening. You see, all I knew is that I was in this deep, dark place and I didn't know how to get out of it. But what happened to me over the next 3.5 years may have been worse than that initial depression. You see, when I was in that, I knew that I was in it. And I started self medicating. I was drinking wine every night, every single night, so that I wouldn't feel those feelings. I wasn't sleeping at night. I don't know if you've ever been through that, but the less you sleep, the crazier you get. Like, really, you know that you're like, when you know that you're going crazy, there's a problem, right? And that's how I felt. But what happened over the next 3.5 years was even worse. So that that psychosis feeling turned into a numbness. And there again, I was self-medicating every night on my patio. And during the day, I was living life. I was putting a smile on my face. I was doing all the things. I was going to work. I was surfing. I was enjoying my twin daughters. You know, we were going places. We were doing all the things. But if you were to look at the pictures of me from those years to now, my eyes looked like they were dead. I I couldn't smile. The joy wasn't there. It was as if I was going through life, but I wasn't experiencing life. I wasn't feeling the joy, the excitement. I felt like I couldn't get out of the career that I was in because, you know, when you're a realtor, you're kind of stuck in that geographic area that you live in. You can't just pick up and move to another place. But also, I was stuck emotionally. I was stuck in that life, and it wasn't a bad life. It was actually a good life. I lived at the beach. I had these beautiful girls, but there again, I was dealing with my son and his drug addiction and all this loss and all these emotions that I didn't know where they were coming from, and I didn't know how to stop them. I didn't know how to stop the anxiety. I didn't know how to stop that feeling of numbness. I didn't know how to stop like just this constant dread that felt like it was hanging over me. And that's why I started this channel. You see, if I can help one person not feel those feelings and get out of it sooner and faster, not lose 3.5 to 4 years of your life, then this video will have done what I set out for it to do. Now, today I understand that what I was dealing with back then is now it's referred to as the dark night of the soul. And I actually help people through the dark night of the soul, and I have a completely different understanding of it in hindsight looking back, because had I not went through that, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be living the life that I'm living today, and I wouldn't be living as fully as I am today, having these very authentic conversations, not just with my family or my friends, but also with my clients. You see, I started this channel to help men and women around the world wake up to this calling. Depression is a very powerful motivator. Depression is often a hunger for a spiritual awakening. You see, just like our body craves food and water, our soul craves this expansion. It craves this awakening. And in the modern world, oftentimes we're just trying to survive. We're just trying to get through the day. We're trying to go to work, sit in the traffic, make enough money to survive, to make the house payment, to pay the bills, put food on the table, be there for our kids or our spouse or our friends, all the demands that are placed on us. And where we don't have enough time to really do that deep inner work that allows us to expand and live a life that feels like it's filled with passion, desire, and purpose. My way out back at that time was a friend handed me a CD, and yes, it was back in the days of CDs. She handed me a CD. I didn't realize it was on personal development. I thought it was to help me get more clients in my real estate business. But when I listened to it, something inside of me woke up. And over the next few years, I became a junkie for personal development. I started to see a light at the end of the tunnel. The spiritual side of me hadn't quite woken up yet, but I was starting to step into it. And then came my year of yoga, 2016. For an entire year, I did yoga 5 to 7 days a week, and I began to wake up even more. And then I brought in meditation, and I woke up even more. And something inside of me changed. So I started to wake up to the bigger purpose of life, which is not just to survive, not just to get through it. You see, we were put here to live our best life. We came here with a purpose. So the great poet Rumi once said, "The one thing you must do." Now I'm going to read this from my phone. "There is one thing in the world you must never forget to do. If you forget everything else and not this, there's nothing to worry about. But if you remember everything else and forget this, you will then have done nothing in your life." It's as if a king has sent you to some country to do a task, and you perform 100 other tasks, but not the one he sent you to do. So human beings come to this world to do a particular work. That work is the purpose and is specific to each person. If you don't do it, it's as if a priceless Indian sword were used to cut rotten meat. See, the mistake that we make is we wait. We put off our dreams, we hold back, we assume we have more time. And if you don't want to face your own mortality with regret, there will come a day when we all lay our head on the pillow for the very last time. Then you have to live life intentionally now, to come out of the fog that we've been living in as a society and really step in to the beautiful, amazing, freaking human being that you are. So that's what I wanted to talk about with you today, is really living life with intention and living life fully. If you are living in that fog, if you're living in that depression, that numbness, dealing with anxiety and worry, and especially in today's world, I get it. Like, we have entered upside down world where there's no stability anymore. It used to be when I was growing up, you could count on getting a job and having that job for 40 years. And, one person in the family could pay all the bills for the household and still have money left over to vacation and save a little bit for retirement and all the stuff. That's not the world we live in today. And maybe you're in your late 40s, 50s, or 60s, and you haven't even saved for retirement, or you've, like me, I had to tap into that money while I was going through that depression, those 4 dark years, and you're wondering and you're scared and you don't know what's next. If this resonates with you, reach out to me. This is what me and my team are here to help you get through these difficult times, because this is what life is all about: creating these communities, coming together as human beings, and living into our purpose so that we're not using that priceless Indian sword to cut rotten meat.